Let's just read this little bit right here. In today's moving world, the first sentence of your short story should catch your reader's attention with the unusual, the unexpected, an action or a conflict. So within your first sentence or second or third sentences, is there some sort of issue, problem, or action introduced? I'm looking at everybody like that. Ask yourself that question.
Yes.
Is there?
No. Oh yeah, mine's a crime.
But that's fine, but within the first 1, 2, and third sentences, do we get it?
Can you start like this? For example, officer something was really tired when the phone started to ring, so he was blah blah blah.
It's not hooking.
You didn't hear it. You're just being negative. Is it not? Is that not really hooking?
No. The officer.
Now, here's the thing. We always have two things. We have like a criteria, which is our content, and then which is your idea, I should say, and then we have like how you express it. So you're going to open up with some sort of officer receiving some sort of emergency call. I mean, the idea works, but then we got to go back to your organization, which is your B, and how you write your sentence, which is your C. Can he rewrite the sentence? Because half of it is how you're presenting that sentence. And then we'll go over a little bit today, certain specific writing style requirements we want to see somewhere in your short story. Like, are you using similes? So think about your first sentence, and could you use some sort of simile with that? Or, as we talked about a couple months ago, can you start your very first sentence off with as? As what? As the phone rang, comma, Officer who?
John.
Officer John?
It's kind of
Seriously, man? Officer John?
It sounds like a
Huh?
grandpa.
Officer John Smith? What is he, like, protecting his own identity? Give him an actual name. Where's he from?
America.
John Smith. I don't know about that one, dude. His name in itself is not hooking. It doesn't have to be kooky weird, but it should be something.
Okay, so what kind of name for
Bob is even worse, my friend.
John
Bob?
Petreski.
That's like Ivan Ivanovich. I mean,
John Petrelli.
John Petrelli? I like it. Where's he from?
America.
I know it. That place is about 8 times the size of Ukraine. California?
No. Residents of America, but from Italy.
Strange. Yeah, that's just we wouldn't call that implausible.
I speak for the handles.
We're gonna go on.
Learn to how to speak for yourself first.
Girls. All right, we're gonna move on and look at a few examples here. All right, let's look at these classic examples here. All right, ready? Let's read this little bit.
Why do you have the giant square?
Because you don't pay attention. Here's the thing. When I'm talking, stopping, I get interrupted way too much. With only 6 people in here, it's a bit too much. Quote, Laura York, it is important to understand the basic elements of fiction writing before you consider how to put everything together. This process is comparable to producing something delectable in the kitchen. Any ingredient that you put into your bowl or dough impacts your finished loaf of bread. To create a perfect loaf, you must balance ingredients based on the correct amount of time and enhance with the right polish and glaze, according to Laura York. When he compares baking bread to writing a short story, he's making a what? Coming from our current vocab list. 2 things that are similar. Current vocab list.
I'm stunned.
Current vocab list. 2 things similar. This is to this.
Analogous?
Yes, an analogy. Thank you, sir. Let's have a look at these actual classic examples in the world of literature. Can you read that one there, Alice? Alice.
It was a bright, cold day in April, and the clocks were striking 13.
George Orwell, 1984. So, it's a very simple sentence. Could have been written by a 7th grader.
I don't think it's really like a hook or something.
Well, let's look at it. In terms of how it's hooking, it's only 1 sentence. Hook can be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sentences, but just identify the first sentence. Could this have been written by a 7th grader?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not crazy elaborate. It's not A little bit, but what we want to look at in your first couple sentences, what does Orwell establish here? What do we know in this very simple first sentence? Go ahead.
It was a bright, cold day in April, and the
Yeah, don't reread it, but what does that produce for us? What is it? All right, we got imagery, and through imagery we have setting. So, bright, cold day. And we also have what in terms of imagery? It's bright and cold at the same time, which makes that what?
Mood.
Thank you. It is a contrasting mood. Excellent. Cool. Because those two things aren't always too normal, especially here. Bright and cold at the same time doesn't happen that often. And the clocks were striking 13, so we have time, place, and what it looks like. Does your first sentence do that? It doesn't have to. It's one or the other. So now we have a very first sentence which creates setting imagery. All right. Second example. Go ahead and read that one there. Dima.
She came running through the rains, shoeless. Neon signs and traffic signals splittering in liquid reflection beneath her flying feet. She fled like misjoined twins on the sleek black asphalt. Puddles of green and red and green, orange and blues splashing up tintlessly to straighten her legs with the gutter filth of the city. She was bleeding.
Excellent. All right. Do we have imagery?
Yes.
Absolutely. Is it imagery dealing with setting?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. So what we know what it looks like. It's what? Somewhere in the city. What else?
She's bleeding.
It's raining. She's what?
Bleeding.
She's bleeding. So, and when we initially think of blood, it's always somewhat. Blood's probably not a good thing.
Yes, and you want to know why it has.
Exactly. And what do we really have here, which is a nice way to hook in your initial paragraph? We have a lot of what? It's descriptive. We got imagery, but what's happening here? This one's very different from the first one. Granted, it's longer, but it has much more detail regarding what? Think about these ing words.
What's the action?
Excellent. Action. Cool. And we're always sort of naturally drawn to action. She came running through the rains shoeless. Once again, contrast again. You think people running through the rains could be fun, could be bad. If you're shoeless, we want to know why. So he is already creating this sort of level of conflict. Neon signs, imagery, and traffic signals splintering in liquid reflection beneath her flying feet. She fled like misjoined twins on the slick black asphalt. She fled like misjoined twins. Example of what literary device?
Simile?
Excellent. Very nice. Puddles of red and green, orange and blues, splashing up tintlessly to stain her legs. These are very simple words, man. These are pre-K words. They're called colors. But they work because they provide a lot of imagery. Tintlessly to stain her legs with the gutter filth of the city. Not one of these words, except maybe misjoined, is really a high-level word. The rest is pretty basic. It's a nice. Would you continue to read this?
Yes.
If you don't, you don't. Not every hook works for everybody. I would. I like it. What's up with our potential protagonist, male or female? And, I don't know about you, but how is this different from being a guy? What does it do for the reader?
She's like more.
She's not strong.
Excellent. Cool. So she's shoeless, which is symbolic of like maybe being defenseless or something. And she's in a dangerous situation. And she's a female, which makes you sort of worried for her. We don't know anything about her. Maybe she's a horrible person, but subliminally or subconsciously, you might be sort of empathetic and concerned about, why she might be in danger. It's good. Does your initial opening or hook deal with action? Maybe it should. Action's good. Action's awesome. Gregor. Oh, I'm going to let you read this one, man. It just makes sense, doesn't it? Can you read that one for us, Mike?
As Gregor Samson woke up one morning from uneasy dreams, he found himself transformed his bed into a gigantic insect. Like, what?
Yes. Oh my God. See, you're already saying what? How? I'm going to keep reading. This is crazy.
Wasn't it a vermin?
A vermin? I don't.
I find these kind of books stupid.
What? How do you know, man? It's the first sentence. And this is Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. And 99.99% of the literary world says this book is not stupid. It's awesome. Kafka's from where, Mike?
Creative writing.
Where's Kafka from?
Franz Kafka.
Yes.
Russian? What?
He's Czech. Yeah, he's Czech.
Kafka.
That's right. As Gregor Samsa awoke one morning from uneasy dreams, he found himself transformed in his bed into a gigantic insect-like creature. Science fiction? Maybe. How did it happen? I'm going to keep reading.
Probably in the lab he got shot with something and started to explode now.
Maybe it's all one metaphor. This was extremely easy to read. This guy's awesome. This is definitely a 7th grade level novel. Alison.
Okay. As Gregor.
Oh, no, the second one. Kino.
Oh,
Thank you.
Kino awakens in the near dark. The stars still shone, and the day had drawn only a pale wash of light in the lower sky to the east. The roosters had been crowing for some time, and the early pigs were already beginning their ceaseless turning of twigs and bits of wood to see whether anything to eat had been overlooked. Outside the brush house in the tuna clump, a covey of little birds chittered and flurried with their wings. John Steinbeck the Pearl.
John Steinbeck the Pearl. Overt example of what? Got lots of action? Not like, action per se.
Nice morning.
It's what it is. So how do you know how do you know it's calm? How do you know it's a nice morning?
Because nothing like really dramatic is happening and everything.
Okay. So he's setting a lot of what here? Imagery. Yeah, he's using imagery. He's setting a place, potentially a time. We know, we feel, we might hear these things. We got auditive, visual, imagery. Excellent. Does yours start like this? Is setting important in your short story?
Yes.
If it is in yours, then especially in that hospital, maybe that is how it starts. Potentially. Because if we really feel this place, and if it is scary and sterile and unhospitable, then maybe that's how you want to start your hook with. And we read this one, and I'll read it again. It was getting on 6 o'clock, so I thought I'd buy myself a beer and go out and sit in a dark chair by the swimming pool and have a little evening sun. Men from the South by Roald Dahl. Setting, place, atmosphere. We got beer, we got pool, we got sun. It sounds like vacation. Is this kind of vacation?
I think it's foreshadowing that something's gonna happen in the dead.
What? Really?
No,
I mean, you already read.
Something dead.
Deck chairs are symbolic of death. Let's hope not.
Foreshadowing that something's weird gonna get happening in that chair.
I think you're looking into this a little too much. And considering we've already read the short story, I'm going to say no. All right. A. I heard my neighbor through the wall. That's what it says, and it kind of is. Once again, if we think about criteria A, it could be a really good idea, especially if you're going to give us something really interesting about what that guy's doing through the wall. But does it hook your potential readers? It really doesn't. Let's look at part B. The neighbor behind us practiced scream therapy in his shower almost every day. All right, I guess it works. What'd you say?
It's kind of weird.
Why do you practice screaming?
I will keep reading. It's worked, hasn't it? Somehow you're hooked. What's really good about this tiny little simple sentence?
It's weird.
Because it's weird.
Stop with that horrific vocabulary usage. It's weird. It's weird.
It's really unique or something.
It's
What?
uniquely weird.
Casual.
No, then we call it word choice.
Unprudent. It's not
What?
casual.
It's not casual, but what specifically? Look at his word choice. What makes it okay? Weird.
Scream therapy.
That's it. That term therapy. Okay, we know that. Scream, we know it. But shoved together, that's a strange sort of combination. It's got a weird. I don't know if it has a connotation. Scream therapy. And where does he do it?
In
In his shower. So we immediately have what? Some kind of dude who's messed up.
And
Conflict. He could be dangerous. He could have some serious issues, but somehow it's affecting our protagonist as he is his neighbor. Would you keep reading this?
Yes.
I think I would. I like it. Yeah. Now, let's go down to C. First time I heard him, I stood in the bathroom listening at our shared wall for 10 minutes, debating the wisdom of calling the police. It was very different from living in the duplex over middle-aged Mr. and Mrs. Brown and their 2 young sons in Duluth. The rest of the paragraph introduces I, an internal conflict as protagonist debates a course of action and introduces an intriguing contrast of past and present setting. It's pretty complicated description to say what? Now ask yourself this. A very effective thing to cut to the chase in a short story is to use the first person narrative. Who is the protagonist in your short story? We all have one. Is he the narrator?
Yeah.
No.
Well,
Would it be more interesting if he was?
yeah.
Yes, because you get to like
It's like
the reader gets to know what he's thinking and like how he feels.
Isn't there this word that you said at the beginning of it also you can show like
It is on. You have your we call that third person omniscient narration, which is good. But if we think about this, in a short story, we have to have a whole lot of information in a small amount of time. And for us, as your reader, to become sort of engaged or even like your protagonist, the first person narrative is more efficient. We immediately get some information about this guy in 2 sentences versus, so and so maybe even thought this or so and so was thinking about that. It's just not as personable as the first person narrative. I like first person narrative short stories. Now, if this is your first sentence, the neighbor behind us practiced scream therapy in the shower almost every day. It initiates some sort of conflict. It is engaging. It is a nice hook. And then our student author apparently jumps in and says, the first time I heard him. And now he introduces that first person narrative. I stood in the bathroom listening at our shared wall for 10 minutes, debating the wisdom of calling the police. Good word choice again. Why is it maybe not wise to call the police on your neighbor?
Because it's like you're eavesdropping.
Yeah, he knows who called the police, and you live next to each other and you have to see each other. It could be a problem. More conflict. This is good.